What's up, everybody? Welcome to Moxie Bets presented by Caesar Sportsbook. Today we're talking NBA Finals. The Heat absolutely dominated the Nuggets in the fourth quarter to even the series at 1-1. And if y'all were following my Mox Lock yesterday on social, make sure you're following at Moxie Bets. I gave you Heat money line, baby, plus 275. Let's go. Feeling very, very rich this morning. Let's welcome in our very, very rich friend, Kenny That's Big. Kenny, how are we feeling this morning? Rich?
Not as rich as you make me sound. That's for sure. Maybe if I saw the Mox lock and I sprinkled the Heat money line, I'd be feeling pretty rich today.
Yes. Well, let's talk about game two. Interesting game because the Heat started out hot, if you will, right out the gate in the first quarter. Then they kind of fell off a little bit in the second. I think at one point they were down like 20 something points. And then they started to inch their way back up there. And then in the fourth quarter, it seemed like the Heat just really blew away with the Nuggets here. Should it stop surprising people that the Heat are capable of finding ways to win?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why anyone's like it should never even be a surprise, right? I mean,
Not anymore. It was in like round one versus the Bucks. It was a surprise. After that, no.
yeah, once they beat the Bucks, I mean, I understand Giannis was a little banged up, but he was still playing in that series. But once they beat the Bucks, you knew that this team was legit, right? Then they just ran through the Knicks. Knicks were nothing to them. And then they beat the Celtics. Bucks and the Celtics were the two favorites to win the NBA Finals this year. And for whatever reason, they came into this NBA Finals and the whole world, it seemed like, gave them absolutely no chance to beat the Denver
Yeah.
Nuggets,
Yeah.
who, let's not forget, they were one of the most disrespected number one seeds. Remember, like we did
Yes.
that episode before
Yes.
the playoffs started. They had like the sixth or seventh best odds to win the title. So I was kind of
Wait.
confused how they went from being a disrespected seed to all of
Yeah.
a sudden like the Golden State Warriors with Kevin Durant. Like,
Wait. First of all, before we move on, I believe that when we did this way back in the beginning of the season, you had the Nuggets to win the NBA Finals. You had a future on that. So
yep,
you've
that
got lots. You got some rich money on this
was.
because, as you said, even though they were the number one seed, they were not really, the favorite even in the beginning of the playoffs to go all the way because you just had people like, oh, it's going to be the Lakers, or a lot of people didn't even have them getting out of the West, let alone now being, the favorite to win the whole thing. So yeah, it is interesting that both teams were kind of disrespected. I feel like the Miami Heat earned the initial disrespect because they made into the play-in tournament and then they lost in the first play-in game versus the Hawks. So it's for them to get here as the 8 seed is a little bit more surprising. So maybe they earned a little bit of the disrespect, at least in the beginning. You better have respect for them now. But the Nuggets have been quietly disrespected all season long when they've been the best team in basketball.
Yeah, and they're deep, but when you look at their playoff run, the Nuggets, great team, great home court advantage, very deep roster. They have Jokic. We all know what Jokic does on on the basketball court. The guy's a magician.
Yeah.
But when you look at the playoff run that they've gone through, they beat the Timberwolves. The Timberwolves stink. They beat up a banged up Suns, a banged up Suns team who just acquired Kevin Durant like a couple months
They're still a
prior,
year
right?
away.
Yeah,
Hmm.
so there was a new pieces there. And then they beat an old Lakers team who, you know, 3 months ago, no one even thought they would make the playoffs. So
Yeah.
their playoff run is not that impressive. And I just like I took the Heat before the series plus 350 to win the NBA Finals.
Wow. So you've hedged your bets. You're a winner either way.
Yeah. But that's how you got to do it sometimes because it's smart money. Like why? Like
Yeah.
it kills me when you see like some of these pages post those parlays where it'll be like $50 to win 200,000 and the person just lets it ride. How crazy are you? You can
Gosh.
guarantee yourself life changing sums of money.
Yes.
Like take the money.
Yes. Yes. No, I agree with you 100%. Like, there's some people like that Marco guy, right? If you're already a millionaire or something, sure, let it ride. Like, but I don't blame the people that cash out. I would too if you've got these crazy leg parlays. There was somebody that I believe had like the MLB, World Series winner, and then they had I can't remember. They had everything riding on it. It was a bunch of league winners. There was future bets like way far out in advance, and he was just missing I believe it was this year for the CFB, championship. And I was like, yeah, dude, cash out. Like, you just got to cash out now and take the money. And there's no shame in that. Like you said, life-changing money. And it's free money, by the way, as well. So I agree with you on that. All right, let's get back to this. I took us on a wild journey there. Eric Spoelstra. The reason why the Heat are winning, and the reason why you can't count them out, and the reason why they won game 2 is they have the best coach in basketball. And you look at the adjustments that he made from game 1 to game 2. One of those, you look at the Joker, he gave up 41 points, or the Heat gave up 41 points to the Joker, but they held him to only 4 assists. Do you think that that defensive game plan is something that's sustainable?
Absolutely. And you look at the Nuggets in the postseason, they're, I think, 0-3 or 0-4 when Joker scores over 40 points.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
Yes.
you know, basketball, we hear it all the time. It's a team game. And Joker is such a good, an interesting and good player. And because he gets everyone else involved and he gets everyone else going, right? And then he'll get his eventually. And when he's, guys are kind of, let's say he's in the lane and two guys come at him, there's always going to be an open player. So when you're letting guys like Michael Porter Jr. or Jamal Murray start hitting Aaron Gordon, they're starting to hit these shots early. It's building momentum. It's,
Yep.
letting these guys get
Yep.
into what they're used to doing, running the
Yep.
fast breaks. It's just their style of play. So when you can kind of change how they play their game, yeah, it's huge for them. And I think the difference in this series is going to be Eric Spoelstra. Like, look at the adjustment he made even in the starting lineup. Like Caleb Martin in
Mhm.
the Eastern Conference
Mhm.
Finals was one of the best players on the Heat, and he takes him out of the starting lineup for Kevin Love, who hasn't started in an NBA Finals game since 2018, and it was the
He was
best
plus
adjustment they
18.
could have made.
Yes, Kevin Love, that's exactly. You look at all of these adjustments that he made. Kevin Love as a starter, plus 18 when he was on the floor, plus 18. You look at Bam. Bam also switched to being more of a facilitator instead of someone that's trying to score a lot. And that opened things up for all of their shooters. You look at Gabe Vincent, 23 points, Butler, 21, Adebayo, 21. I know obviously I just said that he's more a facilitator, but he did score some points there. And like you said, they didn't double team the Joker, which is the smartest thing that you could do. Because if you force Jokic to be the primary scorer, they're going to lose. If you look at his highest scoring games, and you already alluded to this, game 4 against the Suns, where he put up 54 points, lost that game.
Yeah.
Game 4 against the T-Wolves, 43 points, lost that game. Last night, 41 points, lost to Miami in game 2. So I agree with you. I think the Spolstra is just a magician as is, and all of the adjustments that he made contributed to this. But I do think if you can force Joker to be the primary scorer, that's your way to win.
Yeah, and you know what's cool about this postseason run for the Heat? Me as like a sports fan better, I discredit the coaches a lot of the times, especially in the NBA, because the NBA has become such a player star focused league. When you see teams like Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, Klay Thompson, like how much did Steve Kerr really play in those championship runs? I'm sure he helped, right? but when you're putting
He's
those
one of
guys
the
out
most
there,
winningest players of all time when it comes to as a player and as a coach. And yes, but a lot of okay, I agree with some of what you're saying, but I do think that Steve Kerr is a great coach.
no, no, no. He don't, that's not what I'm saying. What I
Oh,
mean
okay.
is it gets lost in the like in the shuffle of how much the coaches
Yes.
actually matter, right?
Yes.
When you're watching the Warriors go on these, championship runs, you're not even thinking about Steve Kerr, really. And
Right.
same thing with the Heat. Like, look at the Celtics series. This series, the adjustments that Spoelstra is making is the difference for the Heat winning these
Yes.
series.
Yeah. No, couldn't agree with you more. Couldn't agree with you more. So, how much do you think that a loss like this shifts the momentum away from the Nuggets? Because you're in an interesting predicament. Before the season started, you've got a futures ticket on the Nuggets. I don't remember what the odds were for that. I'm sure it's plus like 11 to 1 or something, I
I think
believe.
they're
I don't
plus
know. You on there.
1,600.
Yeah, 1,600. So 16 to 1. So you got that writing. And then coming into this, you're thinking more of the Heat. Now, even just after this loss, the Nuggets are now just minus 280 to
Mhm.
win outright the series. Miami plus 280, which is, or plus 230, I believe, which is pretty attractive. Who do you actually think wins this series? And does this loss shake that belief at all?
Well, I love the Heat. I like the Heat before the series. And a lot of that is just around the perception coming into this series. Like I already
Yeah.
talked about, the Nuggets went from being someone that no one really thought was going to win. They beat, weak, banged up teams along the way. And then all of a sudden they're being talked about like they're the 95 Bulls with Jordan and Scottie Pippen and all these elite players. They're
Yeah.
good, but they're not that good. So yeah, I really like the Heat. The game two loss, huge momentum shift. Like look at the Nuggets. They were undefeated in the postseason at home. We've been hearing it. The Nuggets home court advantage and the elevation is going to be their saving grace every series. And they just lost game two. They
Yeah.
haven't played that well on the road in the playoffs. So now you got to go to Miami, where it's a tough place to play. We always hear about the Miami flu, the Vegas flu, right? These guys go into these party cities. They're human beings. Sometimes, you're the devil comes calling. Um,
The devil comes alive in Miami.
yeah, exactly, exactly. So yeah, I think it was a huge momentum shift, and I think the Heat are coming back home game three with a lot of momentum.
I agree. A lot of momentum, especially because the Nuggets were perfect at home in the postseason. For them to get a win in game two there and really just rain threes on them, something that the Nuggets have been very, very good at limiting from their opponents, but they couldn't really stop it from Miami. So I agree. There has been a momentum shift. I don't know how much. I'm trying not to allow it to make me think that the Heat are going to win this series. Now, look, I'm not against sprinkling a little bit on something Miami plus 230 now, but I can't say that the Heat are a better team than the Nuggets are. But we're actually going to get into those series odds coming up next on our Hardwood Hustle. You're watching Moxie Bets. We'll be right back. Tickets to the game, merch, meals at iconic restaurants, stays at Caesar Palace. All this can be yours when you bet with Caesar Sportsbook. Win or lose, every bet earns reward credits, which you can redeem across the empire. Now, if you haven't started yet, register using code OMAHAFULL and then place your first bet up to $1,250. If you win, great. You keep those winnings. But if you lose, you'll get your stake back as a bonus bet. All right, welcome back to Moxie Bets. We're getting rich here with Kenny Bets Big. Let's look ahead to game three. First of all, let's look at these series odds, which we already did. I still think it's going to be the Nuggets in six. I said on this show, and I'm not changing my tune here, that I said that the Heat are going to get two wins. One of them is going to be at Denver. Okay, that happened, but I still do think that the Nuggets are the best team here. So I'm sticking with my Nuggets in six, but I'm not mad at sprinkling a little bit on just the Heat plus 230. I mean, come on. It's the Heat. But how do you think that how many games do you think that this goes? What is a series bet that you have played and you're sticking to, or that you kind of like now?
So I played the Heat just to win the series plus 350 is what it was before game one. Should
Yeah.
have taken it after game one too because the odds skyrocketed
Ooh.
after game one.
Yeah.
And you asked me in the previous segment, is there like an overreaction or like just look at the odds. The Nuggets after game one went from minus 900 to win the title to now they're down to what minus 280.
Yes.
Like
That is
crazy.
huge.
Huge, huge. That's like almost a full 70 cents in from having to lay an extra $700 on the bet. So yeah, I feel great about the Heat. I mean, how could you not? I was reading an article this morning about the Heat. They're on pace to be set the record for most games shooting over 45% from three in a playoff run. When you see like some of the teams like the Warriors from the past, you
Yeah.
would think the
Yeah.
Heat, the Heat setting the record for best three-point
And they don't
shooting
even
game.
have Tyler Hero. They don't even have one of their best shooters.
Exactly. And he's, they're saying he could be back game three, game four, which
I
I don't
hope
know how I
so, because
feel
I
about
can't stand
that.
the outfits. I cannot stand the outfits. Homeboy needs a stylist.
Yeah, I think. I mean, do you see his
Bucket hat?
wife, his contract, his house? Tyler Hero's doing. He's doing all right for himself.
Yeah, well, that I know. That I know. Tyler Hero has it all. He is a hero of his own life. But I will say, I don't think that I think it would mess up the mojo to bring him back right now. One, we don't know how that hand's going to be, and two, like it just you have something good going right now. You add something else to the mix. I don't know. It might kind of mess things up a little bit. But let's talk about game three and those odds. Nuggets are favored on the road, but just by 2.5. Now you think about game one, I think it got all the way up to 9, game two, 8.5. Now we're looking at a 2.5 spread. The total set to 215.5. What are you expecting from game three? What do you like?
I like the Heat to win outright.
Yes.
They're
Yes.
Yeah,
Plus 230. Oh,
yeah,
no,
they're
no,
4 and
that's
0 in
series.
the postseason, 4 and 0 this year against the spread as home dogs, 3 and 1 straight up as home dogs. Their only loss was that crazy Derek White putback shot against the Celtics in
Yes,
the
the Derek
previous
White
series.
game.
Yeah, yeah, the Derek White game, the infamous one. So I'm all in on the Heat here. I love them in Game 3. I think Jimmy Butler, he had 21 points in Game 2, but he didn't shoot well, 7 for 19 from the floor. He isn't putting in the same type of performances we saw him put in the against the Celtics and the Bucks and the Knicks. So I still think he's due for a huge Himmy Butler type game.
Yes.
And I think we'll see it in Game 3. I wouldn't be shocked if he puts in a triple double. So like I'm going to look to take him over on his like points, rebounds, assists, the combo bet. You can get it
Yeah.
at Caesars over 38 and a half points, rebounds,
Uh-huh.
assists. It's minus
Uh-huh.
121.
I love that, and I agree with you. I think that the Heat, I think this could possibly, like I said, Nuggets in 6, but I think this could possibly go 7 games. I think the Heat take Game 3. I wouldn't be surprised if the Nuggets take Game 4. I think there's a lot of momentum thrown over from the Heat winning in Denver, so I like them in that. I also like a big game for Jimmy Butler, and to be honest, I like his points, rebounds, and assists because I was just looking even at his points and his assists. So he puts up 29 points per game at home in the postseason so far, compared to just 25 away. His prop line, 25 and a half at minus 108. So I like that, but I also like putting it with his assists as well. His prop line set to 6.5. He averages 8.2 versus the Nuggets over the last 5 games. So even dipping back into the regular season, he had 7 and 9 assists in game 1 and game two. So I do love that. Yeah, his scoring took a little bit of a dip in these games. What I think he had 13 in game 1, but that was coming into the altitude, coming off of a game 7, traveling, all of that stuff, had 21. I expect that to go up. I love that. And then also, Joker to take a triple double. I'm sorry, it just hits 99% of the time. So if you play that every single game, it's not a bad thing to do. So I would look at a Joker triple double. And I also like Joker over his points, 29 and a half. We talked about what is the key to beating the Nuggets. Well, make the Joker your primary scorer. So if he's going to get over 29 and a half and we like Miami to win, I kind of think that makes sense. So I would take Jokic over his points as well. And interestingly enough, I've been a huge proponent, yes, of the Jimmy Butler steals, his line over 1.5. That has taken a hit in the last couple of games. So that's not something that I am going to be playing. I feel like against this Denver team, he hasn't been stealing the ball away as much as he has in the postseason. So I would kind of shy away from that, but I'm not shying away from the Joker triple doubles. I mean, how could you?
Katie, I'm not shying away. I got it written down right here. Jimmy Butler
Ah,
over 1.5 steals, minus 142. You put me onto that. You
well, I'm happy to put you on. The last 2 games, he's only had one
so
in
he's
each of the
due. He's
games.
due is what you're
Yeah.
saying.
So yes, but in yes, 2 in 2 games, 2 in 2 games. He
Yeah.
hasn't gone over the hump, but yeah, maybe at home we start to see Himmy stealing the ball away. So that's another prop bet that you like.
Yeah, I'm going to go with him just because, I think, obviously, I think Butler is coming into this game knowing like right now, the Nuggets are on the ropes. Like this is the Heat's chance to really take command of the series. We saw him lose the championship a couple years ago to the Lakers in the bubble. They were the number 1 seed last year in the East and they got bounced out early. So, this is a good Heat team. We talked about the coaching and, Pat Riley. There's all this, history around the team and legacy. And so, yeah, I think Jimmy Butler is going to come in, turn in a great performance. Like I think he's going to play one of the best games we've seen him play all postseason. Honestly, it's just going to be a Jimmy Butler legacy game.
You can what are the odds on the 1.5 now? Because they were juicing it like crazy for a while. Is it still high?
Yeah, it's minus 142.
Honestly, that's better because it was minus 166, just a couple games ago. So it's starting to go down a little bit, probably because he hasn't hit it in a couple games. But yeah, throw that into a parlay or even hit it by itself. Okay, fine. I'm convinced. I'm convinced.
Yeah,
We're doing that
especially not
again.
in the altitude. Like in the altitude, you got to think
Yeah.
like Jimmy Butler is their main primary offensive player in the playoffs. He's probably not expending as much energy on the defensive side of the ball, at least in Denver in the high altitude, like you said, coming
Yeah.
off the game 7. So I like it.
First of all, speaking of the high altitude, there was all of these, pictures and videos of just the announcers with oxygen on. I'm like, come on, guys! Like, either y'all are really, really out of shape. I don't understand how just sitting there and talking, you need oxygen to support that. But maybe it was just playing into the altitude. I don't know, but I just thought that was kind of a funny thing when I saw it. Like Chuck and I don't
Those
know
are
who
the
else. Kenny. Yeah.
That's the smoke in the mirrors. That's the media trying to get into the viewer's head, thinking this altitude is a real problem.
Mhm.
I'm telling you, if you just watch the media like a sports center, the love for I just couldn't believe it. Like I texted every single one of my clients when I sent out the Heat series bet, and I was like, "Listen, I don't even really bet the NBA a ton, but this is one of the best bets of all season. The Heat plus 350 against the Nuggets. Are
Yeah.
you kidding me?" So yeah, I loved them. Love the Heat.
Well, to be fair, the media didn't care about the Nuggets at all against the Lakers. I mean, even even when they advanced to the finals, all anybody could talk about was the Lakers and if LeBron was going to retire, which sure you got to talk, but nobody said anything. Nobody said anything about how great the Nuggets were. Nobody, and now all of a sudden it's the Nuggets and not the Heat. And then again, it's like before game 2, everybody was like, there's no way, the Nuggets could potentially sweep Miami here. There's just no way Miami could win. And now all of a sudden they're like, this could go to a game 7 with this. It's like, it's
Yeah,
I'm a part of the media, so I get it. And even as fans, it's like you think one thing, and then after a game, you're like, I don't know, it could go the other way. But let's think very, very far into the future. All
okay.
right. And let's look at the 2024 NBA championship because
Ooh.
those odds were just released. The Denver Nuggets are leading the pack at the top of the odds boards to potentially repeat at plus 475. Miami, nowhere to be seen at the top of this, which is very interesting considering they're in the finals this year. Then you got the Celtics plus 575, the Bucks plus 700. Then you got the Suns at plus 800. And then the Lakers and the Warriors are tied at 11 to 1. What are you thinking for this, Kenny?
Again, just the fact that the Nuggets are first is ludicrous.
Yeah.
Ludicrous. Like the Bucks plus
Well,
700, give it to me all day.
you see, okay. All right. So one, Denver's got to win this year first, right? So the fact
Yeah.
this clearly is factoring in that Denver is going to win this year, and they think that this is them to come back and repeat. Because if you look at what happened last year with the odds, the Warriors were at the top again to repeat. There's the recency bias here because obviously the market is dictating these odds. The Celtics, no way would I take the Celtics because the Celtics can't seem to get over the hump. No matter what happens, Jason Tatum, I'm not sure is the clutch guy that can lead this team to an NBA final because it's been several seasons now of getting to the Eastern Conference game or getting to the finals and then just not being able to go through. The Phoenix Suns at 800 plus 800. Look, I think I think they still might be a season away from being a season away. I don't know that I would put that much hope, faith, and dreams into them for this season. A couple seasons from now, I think they got Kevin Durant for 3, so maybe I kind of like the Lakers at plus 1100. And I know I'm a homer, all right, and I love the Warriors, but there's a lot going on with the Warriors behind the scenes. We don't know if Draymond Green is coming back. We don't know, what's going to happen with Jordan Poole. Obviously, we no longer have our GM. He stepped down. So, Warriors, we don't know what's happening with them yet. But this Lakers team that was nobody cared about, nobody thought anything. And then after the trade deadline, they made all of those trades and they made it to the Western Conference championship game. And yes, they got swept by the Nuggets, but there is so much to build on with this Lakers team at 11 to 1 at this point. That is something that I wouldn't mind sprinkling a little bit on because I really think that they've got a lot of young talent on that team. You look at Hachimara, you look at who's the kid that I like to call a teenage dirtbag, the
Austin
one that
Reeves.
just has, yes.
Yeah.
You look at Reeves, so I know they got to pay him. But I like the Lakers. I like the Lakers to potentially come back here at 11 to 1, just based on the value.
Which like Austin Reeves is about to get 100 million plus contract. It's just insane, man. Crazy. Yeah, I hear you with the Lakers. The Lakers are definitely interesting, especially at the plus 1100. I mean, anytime you have King James on your team, you're always live, right? You always have a chance. You're always in it. The Suns at plus 800 too are interesting. I think for them, I would like to wait and see what they do in the offseason because
Yeah.
if you're just going
Yep.
to rely on Kevin Durant and Devin Booker to go out there and score
CP3
80
now.
points,
Yeah.
yeah, you're not
Mhm.
winning anything that way. It's not happening.
No.
And yeah, the Bucks at plus 700. I mean, they were clearly the best team this year. They've been one of the best teams over the last few years. Giannis, he's not going anywhere. They get rid of the coach, so they bring in a new coach. A little new energy in the locker room, and we saw how Giannis reacted. In the press conference when they asked him, was this season a failure? But yeah, I like the Bucks for next year. Still way too early, so we'll see. But my way too early one last year looked like it could turn out pretty good.
I know. And now you're on the heat too. So you're just a winner either way. All right, Kenny, let's end this show with a Mox thought. We usually start with them, but we're ending today. So, courtesy of our friends over at Caesar Sportsbook, they tweeted out something that said, "When was the best day of your life as a sports fan?" I will go first. And I have two. I have one as a sports bettor, and then I have one as a sports fan. As a sports bettor, it was when I was doing my show, Ride with Katie, and we were in Denver for an Eagles and a Broncos game. And the sportsbook that I was working for at the time had a double result where it's if you guessed who got the very first touchdown of the game, and then they happened to get a touchdown later in the game, it would double. Double the result, double the odds. And so it was Devontae Smith's birthday. I said to him, he got the first touchdown, and then he got another touchdown. Then I think he got the second touchdown. So $100. I walked away with $1,400, and that was just like so fun and so great. But as a fan, of course, it would have to be, look, I'm a 49ers fan because of my family. It's what we do as a family. It's what bonds us together. When I was living in California, even though I lived in Los Angeles, I flew home for every home game, was a season ticket holder with my dad and my two brothers. We went to the games together. When we're not at the games, we have a text thread. We're texting about the games. So in the 2019 season, to go to the NFC Championship game with my dad and my two brothers, and to experience that win over the Packers, and to go to the Super Bowl was really something that was just an incredible bonding experience, and something that I will keep with me forever. So that would be my favorite memory. But as a bettor, the double result was pretty fun. What about you?
All right. So, I mean, my sports fan moment isn't going to compare to yours, but I'll give you one as a fan and one as a bettor too. Best moment as a sports fan, when the Seahawks decided not to give the ball to Marshawn Lynch on the one, and the Patriots picked it off and won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
That was an all-time feeling, pretty crazy. Or
Yeah.
maybe even when they came back and beat the Falcons, that was another
I was
cool
going to
one.
say the 27-3.
Yeah, that was pretty cool too. Especially because a lot of people a lot of my friends were chirping me like, "Oh, what happened? I thought your guy Brady was going to get the win." And you never talk too soon about Tom. Well, we learned that. As a bettor though, has to be not this past World Cup. It was I guess it was 2018 World Cup.
Mm.
It was the first round. I'm part Portuguese. Cristiano Ronaldo is my favorite player, one of my favorite athletes. First game, they were playing Spain. I bet Portugal first half money line, and then I bet the full game draw. At halftime, Portugal was up 2-1. So I was like,
Okay.
oh, let me bet Spain second half money line here. So if the game ends in a draw, I'll hit everything. If
Uh-huh.
Spain wins the game, I'll at least hedge out the draw bet, and I'll win something
You
on
were
this game.
middling. Yeah.
Yeah. So Spain's up 3-2 in like the 90th minute. They foul Cristiano Ronaldo. He has a free kick. And I'm sitting there watching the game with my friends, and I'm like, dude, he's gonna put this in. I know he's putting this in the net. If the game ended in a draw, I would have won like $15,000. What do you think Cristiano Ronaldo does? He puts it in the back of the net, of course. So yeah,
Ah,
as a sports bettor, that was probably one of the best moments because I won a ton of money. It was
yeah.
cool to watch. It was like an
And
exciting
he's
game. So
Portuguese. Yeah, that's great. There's just nothing better than being a sports fan, right? And there's just so many moments like that where you feel this immense sense of pride and togetherness, and you're connected with all the other fans, or your country, whatever it is, whether it's New York, or for me, San Francisco, or when USA is playing. Just there's just nothing better than being a sports fan. And on that note, thanks for joining us today. This has been Moxie Bets, presented by Caesar Sportsbook. Kenny, as always, thank you for joining us, and don't forget to follow us on social and tweet us your questions. You may see them on a show next time. We will see you on Thursday.